As the world continues to watch painfully and with growing alarm the shroud of terrorism spread in Afghanistan, Canada is carefully, expeditiously, and effectively carrying out a special resettlement operation to evacuate Afghan nationals who, for years, provided critical support to the Canadian mission in that country. Right now, our teams in Afghanistan are working around the clock alongside our allies and in close cooperation with our team here in Canada and around the world to evacuate as many as possible. The challenges are stark, as it is an extremely complex and volatile environment. A little over a week ago, I had the privilege of welcoming the very first of those Afghan refugees alongside my colleague, Minister Monsef. And as we have described it on numerous occasions, it was a very emotional moment. But it was the beginning of this operation and not the end. And today we are continuing with it. That initial moment brought a sense of hope, a feeling of optimism, and a sigh of relief for those families who are now starting a new life in Canada. The families, the toddlers, and even the newborns will no longer have to live the daily nightmare of being under the thumb of the Taliban, and one could not help but be moved. As I've said, Canada will do right by those who did right by us. And today, I'm here to say that we will do more. As the Taliban continues to take over more of Afghanistan, many more Afghans' lives are now under increasing threat, and many have already fled. Those refugees face an uncertain and volatile future in neighboring countries, and Canada is here to help them as well. In an initial effort to alleviate the emerging humanitarian crisis in the region, Canada will build on our earlier special immigration program to welcome over 20,000 vulnerable Afghan refugees in total. Our efforts will focus on those who are particularly vulnerable, including women leaders, human rights defenders, journalists, persecuted religious minorities, LGBTI individuals, and family members of previously resettled interpreters. They will come through our family class sponsorship, as well as through our government-assisted refugee and privately sponsored refugee programs. I also know that the Sikh community here in Canada looks forward to welcoming targeted minorities, including Afghan Sikhs and Hindus, with newcomers and with open arms. And I know that my colleague, Minister Sajan, will have more to say on this specific subject. Thanks to their support, we have already been able to resettle a number of families, and a part of this update, we will be resettling more. This new program will welcome government-supported and privately sponsored refugees, along with those sponsored by family already in Canada. By welcoming these Afghan refugees, we'll help to ease some of the burden that Afghanistan's neighbors are currently shouldering and offer refugees a permanent home in Canada. This effort will complement Canada's special immigration program for Afghans who contributed to our mission in Afghanistan. Unlike that program, which focused on those who supported Canada's efforts in Afghanistan, this new effort, which we are announcing today, will encompass a broader humanitarian pathway. We will draw on the lessons we've learned through many previous refugee operations successfully, and will be engaging with our international and domestic partners, settlement service provider organizations, and private sponsors to develop a plan on moving forward.
Over the past weeks, much like the rest of the world, Canadians have been watching what has been happening in Afghanistan. Concern for the people who have worked to build a more equal and prosperous country for Afghans. Our government shares those concerns, and we are taking real action to resettle the brave Afghans who are instrumental to our mission in Afghanistan. Over the past weeks, our departments have been working quickly to evacuate those individuals and their families who are at significant risk because of their support to Canada and our allies. National Defence has been helping Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada to identify and vet eligible applicants. Since receiving the official request for federal assistance on July 30th, the Canadian Armed Forces have been providing dedicated airlift support and personnel under Operation Aegis. The Royal Canadian Air Force began flight operations with our C-17 Globemasters from 429 Tactical Squadron that brought the first Afghan evacuees safely to Canada. And IRCC officials welcomed them at the Toronto Pearson International Airport at 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday, August 4th, with Minister Mendicino and Monsef there. On August 8th, a combination of military and contracted flights brought additional Afghan refugees to safety. Another contracted aircraft arrived in Toronto on August 11th. I can also share with you that another military flight of Afghan refugees arrived in Canada just a few hours ago. In our work to resettle the Afghan interpreters and local staff who assisted Canada's mission will continue in the coming days and weeks. The defense team remains ready to support the whole of government effort to get these Afghan nationals out of harm's way. The Canadian Armed Forces will provide additional flights as required, and DND will continue to support the vetting process and advise on contingency plans for a range of scenarios as our government monitors the evolving security situation in Afghanistan. In addition to those individuals who supported the Canadian mission in Afghanistan, we know that there are many other Afghans who need our help, including those who have fled Afghanistan and remain outside of the country. This includes the many thousands of Afghans who worked with media, civil society, and non-governmental organizations, dedicating their lives to making their country and the world a better place. And as my colleague, Minister Mendicino, has indicated, Canada will introduce a special program focusing on helping Afghans at the highest risk, threatened by the Taliban and forced to flee Afghanistan. Now, Canada will welcome 20,000 vulnerable Afghans, including women leaders, human rights defenders, journalists, persecuted religious minorities, LGBTI individuals, and family members of previously resettled interpreters. And some of these refugees will be directly supported by the Government of Canada, while others will be privately sponsored. And as usual, Canadians have shown an incredible desire to open their hearts and minds to help those in need. And we are deeply grateful for the support shown by Canadians across the country. And in particular, I want to thank the Manmeet Singh Bhullar Foundation for their leadership. The federal government has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Manmeet Singh Bhullar Foundation to resettle a group of vulnerable Afghan, Sikh, and Hindu families who are currently outside of Afghanistan. Over the next several months, we will expand this program through a partnership with the foundation and community sponsors in Canada in order to resettle several hundred remaining Sikh and Hindu persons who have fled Afghanistan. And this builds on our collaboration with the foundation that has already successfully resettled more than 20 families and helped them start their new lives in Canada. And this type of community involvement plays a key role in helping newcomers to successfully integrate, and our government welcomes the assistance of any groups or individual Canadians who wish to help. Canada has a well-earned reputation of being a place where the most vulnerable can find refuge. And we will not shy away from our responsibility to help Afghans, those who courageously aided Canada's effort in Afghanistan, and those who have fled the country. To all those who are at risk, including the religious minorities ruthlessly targeted by the Taliban, know that we stand with you, and Canada is here to help. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.